see. Okay, so this is April 14th, 2019, and it is our Zoom gathering about the piezoelectric field and our work with the protocol. So that's what we're doing right now. And I don't have a whole lot extra to say at the moment, because what I really want to do is have you all talk about this, share this, ask questions if you'd like of me, Thoth. Are there some things you don't quite understand about what's going on with it all? You know, anything that comes up, that's what we really want to have a dialogue about here. So that said, who would like to go first? Okay, Bart.
Hi. Hey, Maya, everybody. Great to be here. I wanted to add that yesterday we had a Rochelle session, so we have our monthly Rochelle gatherings, and several of my group are present today. So Yolande, Eric, Johan, Diedrich, they're all in my group as they just introduced, and Sophie is also on online, I see. So we actually talked about the TESO protocol because, as we mentioned in a personal call, Maya, there were some question marks for some people, and actually it was interesting to hear what the experience was so far of most of my people. I will not talk for them, but let's say most of the people had a very, very positive experience with it. However, one particular person did not have a very good experience, and so we found out yesterday why that was. So the cause of the bad experience was because the imagery that he understood from the text was not applied correctly. So instead of having the two pyramids, so the pyramid of the morning star and the pyramid of the risen one as a double, an etheric double, they actually saw it like this. So he saw it like that, instead of two pyramids that were actually on top of each other, separated by a light orb. And what he had done was actually to position himself in the light orb, like in the middle of the beam, right? And that made him very restless and made him stop immediately. But that was because the sequence of the imagery was in bad order. And so yesterday, I actually explained to the group, I went over your video again, and we took it step by step so that everybody is now completely aware of what the logical sequence is of the steps to be taken to go into the TESO protocol. Of course, it goes much faster once you're acquainted with it, and it doesn't take that long, but it was very useful for my group and for everyone present yesterday to have that sequence in a logical order. So that's what I wanted to really start with. And my own personal experience with the protocol has been amazingly powerful. And I would say my first one was really special. So, but then it's more like integrating it into my daily life. And like I said yesterday as well, we should be able to do the protocol anywhere, anyhow, in any situation, like special spiritual forces. That's just my 2 euro cents on it right now, okay? And now I'm leaving the floor to everybody else.
Thank you, Bart. Yes, and this is good that you're helping people to understand it better, because, you know, there's a language difference here, and it's esoteric things are difficult enough in one's own language, no matter how much you try to simplify them, because something like this, it's quantum in nature. And when it's quantum in nature, placing it in a consecutive order for understanding it better is difficult, because there are multiple fields of expression going on at the same time. And that's why with the video, I say view it like a dream, like you're moving through a dream that's just sort of saturating your being. And then when you leave the dream, then you move into the written form, which is da, 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 da. You know, it's very ordered. You just say these things and you connect. But the dream is already in your space. And that dream helps to, according to what I received, helps to bring a dimensionality to it, where there is no sequential order. So here we're having to deal with 3D reality and put something out in a sequence because we need it that way in order to connect. But on the other hand, this whole thing is not in sequence. It's deeper than that. It flows in all these many dimensions. So there's a synapse between the non-dimensional, the non-sequential in the greater dimensions, and the sequential in our little reality here where we need to perform this protocol. So yeah, there's, these things need to be worked with, understood, and I'm sure that was very helpful on your part to do that for everyone. And, I don't know if this grows and we have more people from other countries, we're probably going to run into that problem again too. Not just because of the language, but also people are scattered in many places and it's difficult to, coalesce. But that's our challenge on the whole planet right now. We need to learn how to coalesce even at great distances. So, is there anything else anyone would like to add to that or start another conversation on this whole thing? Anyone else have anything to say? I do hope so, or this is going to be a very short Zoom. I'm waiting. Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
say something.
Okay. Okay.
I just want to say that for me, participating in Second Life as I do, and Maya having created her videos and all of this there, I'm finding it, and I know it's not for everybody, but for me, it's been so helpful to put the video on in the background and then actually get into Second Life and go to the Tizo grid and go to the temples and actually be with it. And that has, for me, really brought it home. And it's just wonderful. I get the visuals, I get the whole 15 minutes of what she says, and I love it. So that's what I want to say about it. It's really brought it home for me. That's it.
I'll second that. I'll back her up on that because I do the same thing, and I'd love to have that, what you got in Second Life, on my property too. Let's just expand it out. You know what I mean? Anyway.
Yeah. Yes, well, that's a good point because you see on the 20th, and I'm hoping you two can attend this. I'm having on Shambhala's sanctuary. This is in Second Life in the virtual world. I'm having a special gathering. I'm going to advertise it, bring the greater spiritual community in Second Life and get people involved. And Thoth has showed me how to give them these little, pixel eggs, these pixel notospheres, and place them, on their Sims and how to work with them. And this is not just an exercise in visuals. It has to do with real energy. And now that we have certain connections that have already been made here, we can propagate that in many ways. And one of the ways is through the virtual. It's a very real place to do this kind of work. So I'm looking forward to that. And yes, Patricia, that you can do that. We're going to talk about how to do that and how to work with it in your own territory, So anybody else?
So I'm looking forward to doing that in Second Life and in my first life.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How many of you were able to listen to the video that I made that I asked if you possibly could to listen to? Well, let's say how many of you did. Is there anybody that wasn't able to listen to that? Okay.
I began, but it was only sound, no image, and it was hard to follow for me, so I left it off.
I see. Well, yes, I was just speaking about it, and I understand language-wise.
English speaking. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so let me reiterate a few points on it. We should anyway. And okay, so where do I want to begin with this? what we are doing or attempting to do with this whole piezoelectric grid, as I understand it from what the Thoth Extreme imparted to me, is to start growing something. And the growth doesn't have to do with a lot of commotion or, a lot of busyness. It has to do with centered consciousness and how we interact that centered consciousness with this piezoelectric field that has been created by those who guardian the greater pyramidus radius field, which is all, these fields, these grids, whatever, these are not natural earth grids, but they grow out of them. In other words, the beings that have created such grids are sensitive to Gaia's wishes. Let's put it simply, they are not going contradictory to that. They're not creating some pseudo grids here. They are in touch with the beaming consciousness of Gaia, and they are responding to that. And they are saying, okay, we have humanity here, we have Gaia here, and there's a lot of miscommunication going on. So what they are doing is establishing these fields for us to work with Gaia more directly. Now, the greater pyramidus radius matrix is an all-encompassing grid that has to do with helping us build a platform in which we can be comfortable with and begin to work with other dimensions. Not just people like me or whomever out there that's channeling or whatever doing this, but everybody who is on board with that vibration. By that I mean, we're not talking about people who are trying to destroy the planet. We're talking about all of us that just simply love Earth and love each other and want to do good. That's all you need to do to feel that vibration. And that vibration brings you in sync with this pyramidus radius grid and matrix. And it's a growing, evolving thing because we are growing, evolving within it. And we will reach a point, according to what I receive, where we will be able to see, feel, experience very viscerally energies, beings of quantum mechanics before our eyes and in our senses as if we were already on the new earth. But we won't be. It will be a preview, and it will be a means to help us adjust and move into that frequency. Because let's put it this way, when we pass from this mortal coil, we leave the body behind, we go to another, in heaven or whatever you want to call it, we are still, at this point, we are still part of the earthen experience. We're just in another zone where we are learning, receiving to move back, come back into incarnation, and do the whole thing again. So it's a holding area where we learn, we heal. To a certain extent, the soul does. We have help fates. We see Jesus, we see Buddha. Things happen, and then we say, "Okay, I'm ready," and we come back in again. That's the cycle. Now, on the new Earth, that's not the cycle. It's different, and I don't want to get off a whole lot on new Earth, but I will say this much: that in what we're calling the new Earth, it's a whole nother experience. It's like the baseline of Earth is taken to another vibration. This baseline remains. When we die and come back again, we're coming back to the same baseline. Oh, everything's evolving, but it's the same platform. When we move into the new Earth, it's a new platform. And so new things happen. And one of the main things that happen is we don't die in the sense of leaving the body, going to this other realm, and then coming back in again. Our bodies might, we have an energy force that allows us to change directions, to change form, and to go into a new cycle. You could say that's a form of death, but it's not really. We don't have to bury bodies or anything. We just move through this experience very gracefully. Now, here as we are now on this earth, even those of us who won't live long enough in this bodies we're in now to be there when everybody sort of moved into this platform of the pyramidus radius, we are still going to be able to come through and be present and be helped and be helped to understand it and to be conscious of its evolution. So no one is left out of that. You might say, well, I'm too old for that. I'll just be, what's going to happen to me because, I'm going to leave the scenario. You're not leaving the scenario. You're still with the planet Earth until the baseline changes. And then wherever you are in the Earth scenario, whether it's on this physical realm or another, you're going to be brought into that experience. You're not going to be left behind. So when we are in the pyramidus radius, we are in a vibration of experience. And that experience is teaching us how to release old concepts and beingness and experience dimensionality. It's like training wheels. You don't take a little kid and say, that's never ridden a bicycle and say, okay, I'm going to strap you in this bicycle. I'm going to run you down the hill. that would not turn out well. So, what we have to do here, I mean, they don't expect us to do that. It's such a different experience. It's not like leaving this body and staying with the planetary wave. It's a whole new ballgame. So the pyramidus radius is about getting those training wheels. You got your master teacher with you, and you're on the training wheels, and it's kind of helping you understand the way it flows, so that by the time we're actually ready for what Thoth calls LP40, like Principle 40, we're able to more smoothly progress through this experience. Now, of course, there are the other people, the people that don't choose that. It's not like they're being chosen. It's what are they choosing? And they're going to be people that just don't choose that. And they're going to have to go through another process. But, and they won't be joining us quite right away in that whole thing. But that's their choice. So there's a lot to all of this, and I don't want to get off on it because we're talking about the TESO, but it's important to understand a little bit about the greater grid, the planetary, the pyramidus radius, in order to understand the teselectic. The teselectic is a subgrid, more recently created. It's just a little platform that is helping us to connect to these nodus points on the planet in a more succinct way, and to be able to then, through various means, connect directly into the Gaia frequency and establish a communication on a much deeper level. And then Gaia, through that connection, is able to go through all the static that's been created in her outer realm and make the connections she needs to make to change situations on this planet, to bring them back into her fold. And that means things like 5G or other things that are going on that are all screwy on her surface can be modified, corrected, and brought back into heart resonance. That doesn't mean this happens magically, and it doesn't mean that our little group is going to just do it all, but we are part of the picture, an important part, because each human being is an important part of it all. So that shouldn't deter us by thinking, oh, what can we do? We can do a lot, actually. And yet, we're not doing it alone. It's in concert with so many other aspects and beings present in the earth, on the surface of the earth, our kindred of the stars, all working together. But Thoth wanted to make this something that could be as simply understood as possible. We all have busy lives. People have things to do. To try to stay connected to something that's complex or, requires a lot of time each day, it's just not going to happen. Not even for me, So what he did by giving us that little piece of paper, that little bit of protocol that takes you 2 minutes to read, he's not suggesting that you just read it and then, okay, I've done it. And, you don't want to do that. But it gives you a starting point for your own inner experience. Not something that's mapped out for you. First you do this, then you do that, then you got to do this, then you do that. It's more of a do the protocol. First you listen to the dream video that kind of gives you the sense of it. Then you go into the actual protocol. And that's very simple. But when you are connected to it, then you're open to receiving more. You're open to receiving the depth that you, as an individual, in your spiritual homogeneous being, are able to connect to, understand, and work with. And, the more we do that, like Sandra was saying, how she works with hers, that's her way. And she does this and this and this, and she goes to the second life and does that. And it really works for her. but it's different for you, and it's different for you, and it's different for you. Even Trisha, I mean, she's in Second Life, but she still has her own experience with it, and I have my own experience with it. So the important point of all of this is that we are part of a really large plan, but that plan is also entangled with sacred entanglement, not negative entanglement, but the sacred entanglement, that everything we do correlates to everything else that's doing, you know? And if we understand that and really feel that presence, then the simplest thing that we put out toward it multiplies, like the loaves and fishes, you know, it just increases. So it speaks about this increasing factor, that even though you have, let's say you have 5 people gathered together doing something, if it's of a spiritual content and it's truly connected to the divine entanglement, then, or the morphogenetic field, then it's not only amplified, it's reproduced. It's literally, you know, quantified again and again through many dimensional levels. So that's what we're trying to do with our little group, is to quantify something that's very potent. And even if we don't get hundreds of people, Thoth is hoping we'll get at least 102. Really more, because we need 102 people doing it every day, and not everybody can do things every day. Even if it's only 2 minutes long, it happens. So if we could get, you know, I don't know, 300-400 people, that would be great. But even if we don't meet that quota, he said, don't give up. It still works. He was just giving a quota that, you know, really would click in a lot better. Doesn't mean it's not working right now for what we're doing. So, Jerry was asking, Jeremiah was asking, are those nodus points already there or waiting for nodospheres? No, these are actual natural points on the planet, and they don't require spheres. They're just there. They're energy points. The few spheres that we're working with are part of, you know, activating the central logos of it all here that we're doing, but we don't have to put spheres everywhere. That would be a huge project, and it's not necessary. So we're not doing that. If anybody else has anything here to say. So anyway, now, is there anything anybody'd like to ask or say or comment on at this juncture?
Maya, I was thinking maybe you'd like to talk a little bit about the Pymander and how that is all, you know, because you mentioned that in the, and you, how that's all connected in.
Yes, I would. Okay. The Pymander is a name that Thoth gave to the computer that he has built and places in the field of the planet. When I say computer, I'm not talking about a nuts and bolts computer. And he told me about the Pymander years ago when computers were barely computers. But it's a, you know, he calls it a computer because we can understand it better that way. But it's really an energy system, you know, and a plasma. He said it's a plasma thing, so it has some kind of body to it, but it's a plasma form. And this Pymander, I wish I had the definition in front of me so I could read it, but it keeps track of everything on the planet, of the thoughts and consciousness of humanity that is viable, that is spiritually viable, that has a path of direct intent to spiritual home, so to speak, you know, to that feeling, that intent. And as it keeps track of all of this, it can help this quantifying effect. There's a natural quantifying effect, but the Pymander brings it into an even greater focus. And so the Pymander is connected to the piezoelectric grid, and it is going to help especially bring that vibration directly down into the heart of Gaia, into the central sonatoma, or the golden rose, as the inner beings like to call it. So it is really helping us. It is a divine computer, if you will, that is really helping us to do everything that we're doing here. We're not doing it alone. We have ultra beings helping us, inner earth beings, but we also have this computer that is designed to do just what we need it to do right now and help us in that manner. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yes, Bart.
I wanted to add that indeed, you know, the question popped up. It's very interesting that I also talked about it because you talk about it in the TESO protocol and in the video, referring to the Pymander, and it's important, I think, we understand what it is exactly. So I actually put it in my presentation. So the text that you have on the Spirit Mythos webpage and in the explanation what the Pymander is all about, I actually translated that into Dutch for my group, and so that they really understand it. It's a non-physical computer that is reacting to the prayers, to the intentions, the thoughts of those like us that are actually having this need for a sacred connection, or for contributing to the greater whole and to the greater plan. So maybe I can share it with you, the presentation that I made, and then you can have a look at it, and you can maybe share it with the rest of the Sholar, or I can post it in the Facebook page, whatever you want to do with it. You have you're on mute.
Yes,
yeah.
I would appreciate that, Bart. That's good. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Also, you talk about the Adonai Kodesh and the blue needles, the blue let's say the pyramid of the morning star, a blue field, and then the blue needles that are going through it right underneath the pyramid of the risen one and into the chamber of Osiris. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about that and how that connection is made?
Yes. Blue needles allow the penetration of really high frequency dimensions to come through and to connect to their counterparts. That is, things, aspects, energies that are literally made to receive the blue needle frequency, or they have been reformed to receive that frequency, in the sense of some of the crystals on the planet have been from higher beings, have worked with these crystals to have them formed in a way that they accept the frequency of the blue needles. Now, some crystals are naturally born that way for various reasons I won't go into here. So the blue needles function in the pyramid midden chamber is to direct, define, and uplift into higher dimensions all the language that comes into that chamber. And I say language, the codes, the fields of divine receipt that are gathering like dewdrops on the grass. All these frequencies of the human spirit all come into this midden chamber. When they are drawn into the midden chamber, then the blue needles take it out and up. They penetrate this form. They give it a divine answer to the call, and that answer prompts the energies therein, the frequencies, to respond and to move up the path, so to speak, up in the terms of our understanding, into these higher spiritual domains. So blue needles are with us all the time in a lot of different forms and experiences, and we can literally call them in, not really consciously doing so. There's little blue needles, there's big blue needles. By that I mean some are just micro, just micro energy moments that we experience of blue needle action in our own being, in our own body. And some are really, powerfully there. They would probably cause us to, whoops, what happened? Okay, fall apart if we had them, making me dizzy there, Bart. If we had our experience. In other words, if we were hit with one of these really powerful blue needles, we wouldn't be living. We would leave the body. So that's not going to happen. Don't worry. But the point is that there are a lot of different kinds of blue needles. Some of them are micro, and we have those experiences all the time. And others are designed and meant specifically for things like in the midden chamber that are so powerful to really elicit these strong fields of receipt and direction. Okay, Bart, you were going to show something on the screen?
Well, I could show you the presentation, but I'm not sure if it's necessary right here. I was just trying if I could share, and apparently if I open it, then I could share it with you. But I don't think maybe other people want to share what they have. I don't want to be taking up all the time here.
Okay. Well, let's just see. Does anybody else have anything right at the moment you'd like to?
I have a question, Maya.
Yes, Karen.
As you're talking about blue needles, is there any correlation or connection between blue needles and mitigating 5G?
That's a good question.
Only because the magnetic frequency, what am I trying to say? The microwave frequencies of 5G are tiny, 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 tiny. I'm just wondering if there's a correlation. Obviously, the 5G is the negative, destructive aspect. The blue needles, is there a correlation? Could we invoke more blue needleness to facilitate anything in the TZO process?
Okay, well, let me just take a moment with that. Well, what I'm receiving is that is the natural path of what we're working with develops more and more, that the blue needles reorganize their direction and scope and amount, of energy as we're working through these patterns. It's a natural process. In other words, it's not something we have to work with to push more. But what we're doing is going to be developing not only the blue needles, but other things, other aspects, some things we don't even know about yet. But you noticed how once we got started with this, those gives more and then more understanding of different things, even down to the planetary mantles, which do have an aspect of all of this. What exactly, I don't know yet, but I feel that as we come to understand more about the planetary mantles that we all carry in our bodies that connect to the planets in the solar system, that's going to be a means to help us as well. When you had that experience, Carol,
which one?
The one that you shared about the bubbles,
Oh, the dream. Yes, the dream, yeah.
That was almost exactly who was the other person that had it? Oh, Patricia Ladara. She's not with us right now. She didn't know you had the dream. You didn't know she had the dream or experience. Right. And you both had right down to the coming out of the feet, everything. It was exact. Wow. Exact.
Wow.
You had a few little details she didn't, but I mean, the basic of it was exact. And
wow.
So that to me showed me right there that not just you two, but that all of us are really on target with this, and there's a real synergy going on already, and we just really started, So what you
could you share those dreams again? I mean, like compare them. That would be really interesting to see that synchronicity, how it works.
Right. Unfortunately, Ladar is not here, but Carol,
if I knew how to get out of this giant screen that I'm on, and get into my email, I could read you the dream, my dream.
Yeah.
The problem is I don't know how to get out of this.
Well,
you do escape? Escape. Wait.
You got it?
I hit escape.
Okay.
And now I can call up I think I can call it up if that's of interest to everybody.
Yes, we'd like to hear it.
Okay. If for some reason I get disconnected, I will find my way back to you. Okay. Here's the dream. I am being fitted with and shown how to use and activate a bubble membrane, which seems organic, made of plasma, which seems to start or be stored somehow in the region of my feet to the earth perhaps, And then it comes up and gently encompasses my entire body. It is not tight-fitting, rather more like a bubble. This is some sort of organic consciousness-controlled protection from anything in the environment or in the atmosphere which is toxic. More than this, it automatically replicates and perpetuates the exact atmospheric pressure and air gas content to support and even enhance human life. This makes it possible to call on the bubble to envelop a person when necessary, whether here on Earth because conditions change, or if traveling to another dimension, planet, or star system where the atmospheric conditions would otherwise be hostile for us. It is designed to sustain life conditions to which we are adapted. It is not entirely invisible. It is mostly transparent and a bit translucent because it is some kind of membrane. So there's a bit of shimmery light reflection on the surface. In the dream, I am truly fascinated by this, and I am being taught and practicing how to activate and deactivate the bubble. I'm so grateful for the knowledge of how to evoke it. I am aware and being told that the creation of this protective field bubble is directly to the Shungite-Tizo planetary field. And wearing the pendant, having shungite and other potent earth crystals, minerals, gems, and metals in a home environment and my consciousness, it is like a living spacesuit. Like the skin is our current experience, an additional new field of consciousness, physically allowing humans to become mobile galactic beings. That's it.
Wow, yeah.
Thanks. I read it somehow or earlier, but it's really great to hear it again.
Sure, great. I would love to be able to read the other one.
Well, actually, she just told it to me. She didn't write it down. I wish Patricia was here. She was going to try to get here. I said,
yeah.
Okay. But you can discuss it. You know, you can get together on it on Facebook. Or she's having trouble being on Facebook, but you know, sometimes she is. Anyway, we'll figure that out. But let me tell you a little bit about what I remember. What she said. Actually, she did just about everything you did, except she didn't go quite into the detail about the shimmery or the this or that. What she said in basic was the bubble was created, how it was created, same thing you said, exactly like the feet and this and how it looked. All of that was the same. It was for protection, and we moved in our own space. Yeah. All that was the same. She just didn't give a few of the little more tiny details, at least not to me, you know.
Yeah.
So it was so striking, though. It was so striking. It was beyond coincidence. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Was that after you did the Tizo protocol several times, or you do it on a daily basis? How do you work with
I do it as close to a daily basis as I'm able to. It's not every day because it just isn't. But it was definitely, you know, let's say it was sometime in March, and I've been doing this all this time.
And do you have a fixed schedule? Like I do it every day before you go to sleep, or in the morning, or is it as it comes? How do you do it?
It's as it comes. However, I tend to do it either in the morning or as I go to bed.
Okay.
Because during the middle of the day, I tend to be doing other things, and it's, you know, it's like I'm not quite in that state of being. Yeah. But it almost seemed like this was I mean, a way to say it is it's almost like a new organ of our human beingness.
Would that be connected somehow to the arc that you generated inside of yourself? You know, the arc that you worked with in the past, or does it have nothing to do with that?
I don't know at the moment, to tell you the truth. You have a better memory than I do.
Well, I mean, you went to France, I remember you went to France and you were interacting somehow with a crop circle afterwards. Yep. There was a crop circle that was very resonant. I remember from Bill's work that he was referring to that, and that you actually succeeded in building the arc, you know, a new arc inside of you. You were one of the people that actually managed to pull that off. So I don't know.
I assume, Bart, that all of this is completely interconnected.
Yeah, that's what I feel as well. But
has to be.
Yeah.
Well, and I also see it connected to the planetary sheaths. And in this way, as you were speaking, we were talking about it just now, I was seeing that there is a connection with that, because the planetary sheaths, where if we talk about each planet in our solar system is a viable entity, like Gaia is to us, each on their own, what I want to say, true plane of existence, the central point of their own plane of existence, which we don't see from here. You know, we have to change dimensions in order to see what it really looks like, what Mars really looks like, what Venus really looks like to the beings that inhabit it. And so that's the same thing applies for the soul of the planet. And so each of these soul planets extends to us a sheath, because all of it is connected. And as we become more conscious of these connections and actually speak to these other entities in our solar system, in our neighborhood, it's like knocking on the door to, you know, why live in a nice, friendly, wonderful, helpful neighborhood and you just keep all the windows and doors closed and you just focus on your little house? You know, we don't want to do that. We want to open the doors and the windows and say, okay, let's extend friendship here. And that's what the sheaths are for. And the beings on those planets, they have planetary sheaths with them too, in whatever way they're operating and connecting to us. So back to your experience, yours and Patricia's, I was seeing how these sheaths can help us to form a membrane that protects us and keeps us viable in different environments, because all of these planets have different environments, even in their own true center of experience. And it's like, I don't know, it's even hard to put into words, you know, it kind of falls short when I'm trying to say what I'm saying here, but it's like there's an integration there. And the more we talk, the more we commune through our planetary sheaths to these other entity planets, the more we are building a vehicle, a Merkaba, that allows us to become, to keep our environment, whatever our environment is, in sanctity, in sacred space. It doesn't cut us off from everything else. It simply gives us the viability we need to live in this polluted environment, to live with 5G, to live with all of this stuff, you know? And it's not magical. It is part of a scientific principle, as I'm receiving it, that we can do this. And we don't have to stand on one foot and hop around. It's not that kind of a thing. It's not like Simon Says. It is more like just being respectful and intentional of the neighbors that we have and how they are part of our intrinsic family. I could go on and on, but I think I'm kind of spinning my wheel right now. So anybody else have anything or questions or just comments or other things, you know, get me off the hook?
I have another thing I'd love to add, which may be completely not relevant. But when I looked at the, oh God, what is it called? The planetary, no, what is it? The planetary signature, that you, right? That was originally in red. And, yeah, what's it?
A doctrine of signature is one of the terms he uses. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Here's what it reminded me of, which may or may not be a valid connection. The letter T, Taf, is the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet currently. And then so it looks very much like that Hebrew letter if you're reading it from right to left. And the Yud, the one line, is the Adonai, God, all that. But if there are two, the thing suggesting that it's the end of the old alphabet, and instead of one Yud, there are two. So I don't know, it has an evolutionary feel to me. And it may be completely bullshit.
No,
not at all. I'm with you, because I think it's very well researched. I completely relate that also because, of course, I'm studying Kabbalah, I'm teaching Kabbalah, and you see the first essence of God in the Atzilutic atmosphere, in the Atzilutic world, the divine worlds, and then of course the Tav would be the last path from Yesod, from the foundation into Malchut, and this is
Right.
about new earth. It's about creating a new earth.
Right.
So it makes absolute sense to me. You know, it's a very good catch as far as I can see.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm fascinated by it. So let me clarify or help clarify it for me. So what you're saying then, Carol, is that the sacred symbol that Lawrence drew for me, or drew that without a dream, that is what you're saying here. Would you say it again, just the whole sentence, without saying this represents this, but just the sentence itself? It means da 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 da. You know what it means?
It means the current last letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which, as you know, is very esoteric. And the current last letter of the Hebrew alphabet is the first symbol that you see if you're reading the symbol from right to left, like you would in Hebrew. Okay, followed by not just one yod, the little line, little dash line, which stands for Adonai, which lets you into that Adonai frequency. But there are two of those. So to me, one alphabet, the current Hebrew alphabet, completes itself, and it goes to an exponentially higher level with two yods instead of one.
Wow, that's very cool. I love that. Yeah. I was wondering if there was any correlation with what we're seeing in his writing and his symbol with other forms, you know, and there's the Hebrew. Wouldn't it be interesting if it correlated with other sacred languages as well in some other way? You know, it might
Probably
have
does.
universal expression coming out of different fractals of its consciousness, you know, whatever it is.
I bet it does, because it seems to embody the frequency of, you know, going up another rung of the evolutionary spiral.
Yeah, exactly. That's cool.
Also, just wanted to add one more.
New alphabet, new alphabet.
I just wanted to give one more remark on the toxicity and the fact that we can protect ourselves. Did you know about there is bees in New Zealand, Maya, that produce mantuka honey? Did you ever hear about that?
Yeah, in fact, Bart, I was just guided to buy some. I was just guided to buy that honey. So just boing, you know, when he hit the button. And so I have my own ways of, I think I'll try this or try that. But when Thoth gives me a thing like that, I know that I need to get some. So it's so expensive. I just got a little, and
very expensive. I also bought my own little bottle. Yeah, it's very expensive, but apparently whatever people throw in toxins at these bees, they manage to find a way around it, and they continue to make this incredibly powerful honey, which is scientifically proven to be extremely powerful, helping in healing. So I also just tried it out, bought myself a little bit in a organic shop over here, and so it's something that I thought was worth mentioning.
Yes, in fact, I was receiving just in the kitchen before I came here to, you know, with my little cup of tea and manuka honey to come to the class, to our gathering. I was receiving, we need to get shungite to the manuka honey bee people, you know, and I was going to pass that by Nancy, because can you imagine? They're already fantastic. And if they became shungite bees too, can you imagine? Ooh, that would be fabulous. Yeah. So it's interesting you brought it up right now. So obviously there's a real need for that here.
I wonder also if whatever exists in the earth where those bees are in New Zealand has any kind of relationship to the shungite field already.
That would be interesting to find out, because it kind of sounds like it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Sounds similar. Yeah. Cool. So exciting. This is awesome.
Well, one of the things that I was receiving today very strongly, I just don't know how I'm going to do it yet. It's because it's just a little seed in my brain at this point, but a little tickle from Thoth. And that is the shungite field that is developing and getting stronger and stronger because people all over the planet are taking their little pieces of shungite and they're, planting them, or they're just moving, they have wearing them, and they're going all over with them. And so the field is just growing and growing. And of course, the shungite field is very determinate with its work with the piezoelectric, because the two are working together like hand in glove. So I was thinking about all of that, and Thoth came in with also something else, which is not a part of the piezoelectric, but it's an attendant, more personalized aspect. It has to do more with the shungite field itself. And that is, it's so healing. The shungite is so healing, and the field itself is so healing. And he said there's a way to allow us people to become more synergic with that field, the shungite field. Now we're talking about specifically. It's for personal healing and healing of others and healing of, the healing of the planet. Now the piezoelectric, let's put an understanding between the two. The piezoelectric field is determining, it's using all resources at its availability. The shungite field, Gaia's sacred heart, this, that, all these things, anything that's available to it. The nodus nodes to create a presence that neutralizes and transforms harmful artificial fields. That's its job right there. Now, the shungite field itself is far more dimensional. And that's why it can work with the Tizo so well. It can work with this, it can work with that. So if we look at the shungite field and say, there's a lot of people that really need healing right now because of everything that's going on. They're getting cancer and everything else from the pollutants and the vibrations and the chemtrails and all of this stuff. So while the Tizo is doing its job to neutralize these things, we still need help on a daily basis for our health and well-being. And the shungite is there to do it. Now, I know we're wearing shungite, and this certainly helps and everything, but it ain't enough. We need a little more help. and certain people need even more than that. So Thoth is giving me an idea, and I haven't grown it yet. They're just beginning to think about it. Some kind of synapse that could allow us to tap in directly to the shungite field for healing. And of course, the idea that we're putting the Gaia signature together with shungite, this is great for many things, and it would be great for healing as well. But there's more, and I'm working on that to see how it comes together so that something simple. It's not like a protocol or anything. We're already doing that. We don't need 20 protocols, but something that's just helps us, that when we're saying we want to connect to the shungite for healing, we have just a little bit of extra help to do that and tapping into a more synergic field. So I'm working on that. But in the meanwhile, because I'm not the only one in the ballpark here, individually we can say, look, I've got this little piece of shungite here, but I want to expand it. I want to move beyond just the localized shungite field that it's creating in my body and move into the greater shungite field of Gaia. And further, we've got two shungite fields that are attempting to merge now, that are connecting. One is in the outer world, and there's an inner one in the inner earth. And the two are starting to come together. And they haven't really, really done it yet, but they're getting very close. And when that happens, oh my gosh, it's going to be wonderful. So we can connect. As we connect to the shungite field, we're really asking to connect to both of them. That's because they're both two parts of the same whole, really, in the greater sense of the word. So anyway, that's another thing I'm just throwing out there when in your prayers and your experience. And you can do this for other people that don't have shungite, or maybe wouldn't be open to having a piece of shungite that you love and care for. They're having a rough time. It doesn't even have to be the physical body. It can be emotional. It can be mental. It can be, any kind of healing that's necessary. Get out your shungite and say, I wish this shungite to connect to the higher dimensions, the greater shungite field in a deeper, more expanded way. It's connected anyway, but you give it that intention, it moves into a stronger position with it. And you're conscious of that, and you say, through this field, I ask that so-and-so be healed, or that such a, helped, and that their fields be expanded and helped. And even if they don't have physical shungite, this is possible through your intent, through your shungite and the field that you're entering in, through. Even if you don't have a piece of shungite, but I bet you do. But even if you don't, you can contact that field, So anyway, that's my say on that. Anybody have anything they'd like to add on it, or thoughts, or maybe some helpful hints?
Well, I'm wondering if, me, I always go out to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if since the shungite originally came from the cosmos somewhere, outer space, inner space, both, whatever, that field must also be connecting to other planets in our system and other star systems. So it must be part of a larger, even larger, that I can't even comprehend, but I get a glimpse of an ascension that is humongous.
Oh, absolutely, Carol. Yes, absolutely. And I was going to say that, just skipped a track here. As you're saying that, oh, yes. Thoth had said that there were two components that make shungite what it is, which is so incredible on this planet. One is the meteorite that hit, and it had just the right stuff in it, which Nancy says, and Thoth agrees with her, was not a coincidence. It was put together for that purpose, and it entered the earth realm and connected. But then in a later period, and I don't know how much later, but it was still a long time ago, there was an energy beam that came forward and brought more energy into it. More, I say energy, experience, knowledge, consciousness, whatever. So it was a double whammy. So now we have it even more powerfully represented than we did when it first landed. So yeah, it's all from someplace else connecting to us here, and it was all intentionalized. It wasn't some random thing that happened. So obviously there's a much greater field of experience that it's connecting to through, and we are kind of pioneers. I say we, our little group, Nancy and all the people that are connecting to her, anybody that's shungited are we're the pioneers right now in opening this up for planetary experience, because shungite responds. It does not go to you and say, hey, knock, knock, knock on your door. It waits. It waits. When you knock on its door, by just holding a piece of it, even if you have no other knowledge, that's a knock on the door. But if you, again, you don't even have to hold a piece. You're talking to that field. You're saying you're knocking on its door. It's going to respond to you. And it'll respond on the level that you are asking to receive, or your inner being is asking to receive.
We still have to, I think, buy our own shungite. I was looking for the right website. I think the original shungite, where did it come from, Maya? Was it Russia?
Well, it's the only shungite. The only shungite on the planet comes from that particular place. I can't pronounce the name of it. It starts with a K.
Karelia, is that correct?
Yeah, something like that. So that is shungite on the planet. Now, their inner Earth, I'm not sure if they're drawing on the same shungite. It goes down so deep or whatever. I'm not sure. That's a little, I don't know. But yes, in our experience, that's where the shungite is, and it's the only place that
I just popped a link for the people of my group from Belgium that can actually connect to it. So shungaichi.com. Apparently they're really careful about where they're going to source it, but it's exactly the place in Russia where what you refer to. So I think it's important that we know that there's also fakes on the market already, and that you actually purchase from the right source, right? I think it's fair enough to think about those things, because as soon as there is some money to be made, of course there is pirates on the horizon.
Well, Nancy of Cosmic Reality is working to get a lot more shungite from that source. So because our concern is that at some point Russia's going to realize how important this is, and they're going to cut it off.
Exactly. That's also my I would say a thought that occurred to me, that I think it's good that we source now, and that we make sure that we can definitely have that connection, and also a physical connection to the field. and make sure that we are the living or the walking temples that are actually sanctifying all the time wherever we go, and actually help create or increase the signal with the field that will eventually, hopefully, trigger LP40.
Yeah, yeah. As we're speaking, Thoth is coming through really strong on something here, and he's saying that with these monolithic places like Stonehenge, I'm just going to take that as an example, but they're all over the place. The lesser ones and the that have been set up to organize energy. Well, even the Great Pyramid and all of that. But he showed me Stonehenge as an example. Okay, and if you took a tiny, tiny, tiny little piece of shungite and placed one tiny little piece, buried it at least this far, what's that, an inch? But you really need more because somebody might kick the soil and everything. So you need to go a little deeper than that. And I don't know how you get out and start burying stuff. People might put you away for that. But I'm just saying, this is what he showed me. And if you bury it at each pillar, you know, if whatever the circle is, or if the pyramid would be at each point of a pyramid, whatever, you bury it there with intentionalizing it. But even if you weren't, it would still act, but it more so if your intentional energy is in it. It's going to bring it alive. It's going to bring that field into a cohesive point of experience beyond the time it's set in. In other words, we're in this time zone. We put the shungite in now in this whatever time of day or place it is. But as you do that, because these structures are geared to go dimensional, and not just stay in the time zone that you're in when you're standing there in them, that shungite is going to spread through that entire time zone. And it's going to activate it on very, very deep levels to be far more dimensional in our experience and for our planetary needs than it would be otherwise. It's going to say, hey, bring your dimensionality here to this point, you know, because most of these places they're active still, but you know, they're only active about this much compared to what they were when everything was aligned and it was all together and the people were intentionalizing and everything was working. So this way, when we plant those little tiny seeds of shungite, and I know this stuff's expensive, but you know, we're talking about tiny little pieces. This is going to activate it big time. And
so this is all about special spiritual forces, right?
Yeah.
We need to be present everywhere and go under the radar and pretend we're playing their game, and at the same time we're the counter forces. You know,
we can be
boots on the ground for Thoth and the divine helpers.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know what Derek does? That's Derek. Can't say his last name right now, but with Nancy and Walt over there in Cosmic Reality, when he went on his trip to the shungite, to spread shungite to the beehives all over the country. I mean, he was literally driving to all these places and giving them shungite for the bees. He would be driving along and he'd get a tickle and he'd like, oh, I need to throw some shungite out the window. He would literally do that. He would roll down the window and toss a piece of shungite out. And, you know, in a field or something. It wasn't like in Main Street or something, but it was in, you know, the country. He would just throw it out. He would throw a piece out when he got the signal. And I was listening to a video that he and Nancy made a few days ago, and he said that it was amazing how many times, and this wasn't just one now and then that could happen accidentally. This was again and again and again. He would throw the shungite out and an animal would come forward. I mean, a real live, a deer would walk up, a bird would fly across his wind, an owl would come to the tree. It was something, it was just happened because he took a long trip and he was throwing a lot of shungite out the window. And it just happened again and again and again. Like an animal totem, literally, not in the ethers, but a physical animal would appear saying, yes, you know, this is what was needed here. So
does that shungite need to have a certain shape or form, or is it just enough to have just a shungite as it is?
Yeah,
a piece of shungite that is real shungite will do the trick, right?
Right, a raw piece of shungite. Now, you know, a lot of people are buying the elite shungite, and I have some too, because that's supposed to have, you know, more C60 and all of this. But Nancy says, and as I was listening to her, I was feeling a Thoth agreement on this, you know, leave poor elite alone, because the elite is the heart of it all, and you don't want to be mining a lot of that. You don't want to be selling it and say, I mean, it's okay to do that if you want to, but regular shungite stones that are not as expensive too are just as good, and they actually are more grounding for what the elite is. More etheric. It has another purpose, and it's really meant to just hold the grid. And the other shungite, the regular kind, they're not shiny. The kinds that aren't shiny. Those are the ones that we need to be using more than the other kind. So that's the kind he was throwing out the window and everything.
Maya, what's the connection between the Taya allotments on the planet and the nadis and where we're putting the shungite? You and I are on the same page. We're on the same page.
Again, this came up during my presentation yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the golden Taya. I was talking about the golden Taya, and how we actually co-create the golden Taya, wherever we go as walking, living temples, and that we need to sanctify everywhere we go and be the counterforce and all that. I mean, all these subjects that are now popping up through other people, we talked about yesterday. We actually.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, there is obviously a connection. I don't know how deeply I can know it at this moment, but because the golden Taya allotments are areas of, let me say this for those that may not know, are areas on the planet that have already been allotted for their light codes to be ascend with the humanity. Some places on the planet, the light codes aren't going to ascend with humanity. They just aren't. I don't know why. They aren't the ones that have been selected for whatever reason. And so, but as we throw our shungites out the window, we are actually connecting all land frequencies with the golden Taya, so that even though the golden Taya frequencies are the only ones that are going to ascend, all land areas are giving their spiritual content into those frequency zones. And shungite is one way to do that. I'm not saying it's the only way, but if you're wherever you're planting shungite, you're helping that whole path to emerge.
Somebody please, could somebody post something or a link to the golden Taya? Any kind of writing or anything on that?
Maya, you have lots on your website, right? I mean, I think on Spirit Mythos,
I do.
Okay.
I'm trying to think where that. I try to get as much of the basic stuff onto the Akashic definitions page, but I haven't gotten. I don't think I have that there yet.
I have that. I can look there too. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Maya. I would like to, number one, since you guys have been talking about this so much.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a refrigerator magnet that I have bought and made the copy. So we're going to find a way to make this available to people so they can. We talked about that. We can put it on the refrigerators or something. You have said that that would do all kinds of things to bring that energy into the world, basically, into the field. Remember that? Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing I just wanted to share real quick, because you talked about the planetary mantles, and that in the TESO protocol, there's lots of different places to go with it once you start doing it. And my experience has been, I was almost not taken over, but I was so impacted by the Saturn thing, the Saturn connection that you put up. You put a video, and I just wanted to share that in the 3D world, I found because it connects Stonehenge, which you were also talking about. It goes from Saturn to Stonehenge to the people, to Earth, to Gaia. And I was in the 3D world. I found a very small little replica that this company makes of Stonehenge the way it is now. And so I have a physical touch point for Stonehenge. And then when I went back to look for things, they actually have a company that has found the little rocks of the material that's in Stonehenge, so that you've got that vibration. I've got that coming. So there's all kinds of stuff out there for touchstones to get this energy kind of into our world, into our 3D world where we're working. And I just wanted to share that it's, and I have these, I can never think of his name, the guy who does the water crystal frozen things. Emoto, okay. He has some cards, and one of them is Stonehenge, and I swear to you, I do them every day. And in the last week, probably 5 out of 7 times I've gotten a Stonehenge card. So it's fun. It's really interesting to see the stuff that Spirit's bringing through to help us get it in all levels.
Well, I would like to, I'm going to ask Nancy, and if she doesn't have it, I'll look elsewhere, but if we can find little teeny, teeny, tiny pieces. In other words, you know, when you order them, they're kind of like that big, and you know, that you keep tossing those out.
I'm talking about parts of Stonehenge. What are you talking about?
Oh, I'm talking about the shungite, but I'm going to get back to Stonehenge. Just a minute.
Okay.
Wait.
I wasn't sure.
I went,
Okay.
like that. But anyway, because I'm going to get to Stonehenge here for a minute, but we need teeny tiny little pieces, you know, and I'll have to find it. But he did show me that the Stonehenge is the example, but also, you know, I felt the power of it. I felt the power of putting the little tiny shungite pieces in the Stonehenge circle with the whole Saturn energy. And it would be interesting. Wow. Oh, I'm getting, yeah. I don't know astrology, but whenever Saturn is present, more present for Stonehenge, whenever that would be, we need to find that out. You know, in a cosmic way. That would be the time to place those little pieces, to install them in the Stonehenge circle. We just need to find somebody that's close to Stonehenge or going there, and a lot of people are, but they need to be there at that time. We got to find out what time. But I'm just feeling that's a really important part of our TISO work right now, is to somehow get that to happen. And Edie, that's maybe some of the big reason why you're feeling it so strong right now, you know.
It's really strong. I mean, it's just unusually unusual.
Yeah.
And I'm just excited that there's all these things kind of giving me synchronicities to say, yeah, you're on the right track. Yeah, this is really happening. So it's been a pretty fascinating trip.
Wow. Okay, let's see. Where are we going from here? I'm just watching the time. We don't want to make this too long for people that are going to be looking at it, but yet we're getting into some really interesting areas, so I don't want to quit quite yet. Anybody else have something that, you know, that hasn't spoken up yet that they'd kind of like to add or just bring into the circle? You know, it doesn't have to be some big deal. Just add your part. What are you feeling about all this? I know people are writing things in the side panel, and I honestly can't hardly read them because my eyes are so bad and it's so tiny. So,
I have something.
Yes. Okay. Yes, Michael.
So I took, it's kind of guided to take a break to do some healing, and it ended up being the entire winter. So I took 6 months off, and very, very strong energy. So I wasn't actually off. I was doing a lot of work, but just in a different realm. And now I'm back in back in the world, so to speak, doing a lot of service work, and a lot of weird things are happening. When I say weird, I mean that the etymology of weird is someone that controls their own fate, like a weirdo. So I'm experiencing these magical things, and the synchronicities of what I'm experiencing through just many different sources matches a lot of what you're talking about today. I haven't done the protocol yet, so I will be doing that this evening before I go to bed. And watching the video and familiarizing myself with it and doing it. Because one of the things that I've been calling in is a new practice for the new earth, to kind of let my old practices fall off. And everything I've heard today matches what I'm being shown. Plus, there's a synchronicity of images that are showing up. These sigils are showing up everywhere, and it's really interesting. So thank you guys for sharing all your different inputs on this. It's beautiful.
What, I didn't catch that, Michael. You said a synchronicity of what?
There's so many sigils coming in, like the circle with the pyramid and the upside down pyramid, the circle. It's coming in Raymond's work. It's coming through stuff that Anthony and Endon and Jonathan and I and some others are doing with some designs. It's just coming everywhere. Everywhere I look, I'm seeing the same symbology. And it's just really powerful. And also getting the message to, this just happened through some cards. I rarely pull cards. And it happened the other night that Anton pulled some cards. And the cards were so synchronistic with everyone in the room that there were tears. It's like a little sacred brotherhood. When we're sitting in a Templar cross too, which was really fascinating. And the instructions.
They were dragon
cards. They were dragon cards too. And it ended up, we all were assign different archangels to call in to work with certain dragons for certain things. And in the end, so mostly it was witnesses, but in the end, there was an oracle card that instead of prophesying, it said, now, how do you bring your vision into this new earth reality? How do you bring the new earth towards you, into you, to manifest it outside of you? And literally the protocols, I can see how they will fit in with what I know so far about the T's and electric part, the protocol, and then also a few other things that are coming in right now. So thank you for allowing me back to our group, and I hope to be sharing a whole lot soon, because I am in complete download visualization mode. I'm going to start making sure I have a notepad next to the bed. I'm full on vision questioning, barely sleeping. The energy here is strong. We'll just say that. The energy is very strong right now. And something about the new earth. Jonathan and I were asked how we have the Midas touch right now, because everything is just unfolding before us. And it's literally, we're staying in a mindset of that it is already done, that we're already in the new earth. We're just imagining every moment that we're in it. And I've seen through the veil a few times and what the tropical paradise is coming. And it's just really interesting that there's a lot of people moving things. So it's just going to be fascinating to see how things develop, and how, with all the new stuff coming in, both came in my field 3 times yesterday, and it's been a couple of years since that's happened. About a year and a half since that's happened. And so I'll be actually sitting with the way that Thoth speaks to me, and I'll let you know what comes. So blessings.
Sure.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, Edie?
One thing that I forgot to mention about the protocol is maybe a week ago, during the day, it's like Spirit brings in the idea of the protocol. And what I've been doing is just putting my fingers to my chest, like you told us to do it, in the thing, and just holding that energy, maybe just a couple seconds. But nevertheless, it's not just a once a day thing anymore. It's honoring it whenever that energy comes in. It feels really, really good to do that. Really good.
Well, for me, I try to do it every day. I think I've only missed maybe twice since we started, which is really good for me because I get discombobulated. But what I do is I go, just before I do my lunch, it just seems to be the right time, I go to the altar, the round table, and I work with the light sword. And when I'm going to go get the sword. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. I just felt like we should have her here, Amaris, with us. And this is the beautiful sword that was made by Tom Letter, the light sword guy. And most of you know about this, but I'm going to explain it anyway. This is, of course, selenite, and it's from a very special source that he gets it. And when I asked Thoth what should go on the handle, because I could have it crafted, this was before all the shungite stuff started. I mean, I knew shungite was, among the many crystals that was cool, but he said shungite. So that's what this is right here. And of course, later it became so much more important to me. And in the handle and the hilt here are sacred crystals and water and everything you can imagine. And I don't know, he is a proprietary way that he's able to compact it the way he does. And prayers, they're prayers from all the sacred religions and whatever. But this is heavy. This is much heavier than you would think it would be with just these 2 crystals. So there's stuff in here, that. And so anyway, this is a very special sword in and of itself. But on the altar, as I have it with the skulls, and in the main skull is some certain crystals along with the shungite, and the combination of shungite and these other pieces is really powerful. So when I start I do the tizo first, then I pick up the sword and I hold it up and I feel an energy coming through. But then I'm instructed to touch the skull in the center, which is that ancient one that I have. It's not contemporary, it's the old one. And it has the crystals inside it with the shungite. When I touch that, I feel a beam that goes to the central Charamandala with, you know, what it all is in that. And I feel the beam there. And then when I try to lift the sword again, it's a whole nother experience. When I have it here, yeah, there's energy, you know, and I put it down here. And there's still, okay, there's energy. But when I feel the energy come back up the sword again, and it hits the shungite and the crystals in there, and it comes through the field into the sword, I start lifting the sword, and I'm like, ah. And when I get it up to full position like this, I have to brace myself or I'd fall over. That's how powerful it is. I have to sort of put my feet out and like go, oh, you know, while I'm holding on to it. And I can't take it very long. I have to put it down again, and that's it. So I just wanted to share that, because when I'm doing this, I feel that I'm doing it for all of us, for the field, everything, because the particular matrix that's set here, you know, aligns to the mountains and to what's in those mountains, and everything that's here that's part of that special matrix. Of course, the sacred on. So, you know, but I just wanted to share what happens when I do that. And of course, those of us here in Crestone, we're all working with it in a very direct way. That doesn't mean everybody else is not. Everybody has their own sacred lands and fields and consciousness they're working with. I'm just sharing what we're doing here. And it's really powerful.
I also wanted to call out or mention it rather, one name in my group. She's a grandmother. She has several grandchildren already, so she also has a busy life. But she's been doing the protocol every day since I actually mentioned it to my group. And I found it very significant that in Brussels there was this lady, this politician, that actually said, we don't want to have 5G in Brussels. And it was quite successful. And I must say, somehow I feel that the fact that people are dedicated to the TESO protocol, there are already some visible results in the neighborhood, in the immediate surroundings. I mean, I couldn't, you know, I had to think about her and about the people that have already been dedicated their time and their energy to doing the TESO protocol, but because it has the power to shift thoughts, which is so difficult to do, right? Because it's long lived patterns, all archonic energies, etc. So before you can actually start transforming those, you need to have a very powerful source of energy. And I think the TESO protocol is actually already doing that in many subtle ways and even more visible ways, like the one in Brussels.
Yes, absolutely, Bart. I feel that too. And you know, I read something I posted on the Sage page about how they're saying that is it North Korea that started using it in their country, using 5G. They've got their own satellite and everything, and they're doing it. They just started it, and it's dropping the signal. It's dropping the signal. They can't keep it. You know, it's failing. It's failing. And this was like, yay! Now I don't know how much the TESO had to do with it, but I do know that like just when I began this thing a month or two ago, whenever that was, Thoth was saying that one of the things that would be happening is that the signal would be interfered with and transformed, but the transforming part was sort of later. First, it had to be interfered with, it had to be changed. And if you're changing it, it's going to drop, you know, it's not going to work with the systems they have in place to have it work with. So cool. I thought this was a good sign when I read that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great that Belgium did that. Thank you for your help, Bart.
Yeah,
not me, but
well,
we're all part
of it.
I think it's just a huge encouragement to all of us, you know, to keep going for it, you know, to actually apply ourselves. 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I mean, it doesn't. It's really about getting into that consciousness bubble, if we can call it that way, right? To invoke it and to live it, you know. And then the more we do it, just like Maya said, like Thoth says, the higher the chance that we will tip the balance to our favor and to the favor of the whole planet.
Right. Maya, that brings up a question. which is very quick, I hope. I am so eager and excited to eventually have my little baby Nadi staying here in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Any updates? You're muted.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Well, right now we're in an in-between space in the whole thing because our person who is helping us create these is not in a house for the time being. She's in a tent. So, but this will proceed. It will proceed and get there, Carol. It's just that, you know, right now we have to wait for her to get settled. And then we'll start up again. And once that happens, I feel it'll go rather quickly because we're going to try to help her to get, you know, what she needs in place to do this. And we've crossed a big hurdle by creating the first one, you know. So we won't have trial and error so much after we get going on this.
I have one more important question to ask. When you do the TISO protocol, the short version, Maya, or anyone else on the screen, do you actually do the breathing sequence first or not?
I do the breathing sequence.
The what sequence? What was the sequence?
The breathing sequence, like before you actually enter the light orb and all that, then you do the breathing sequence, and you hold your breath for 7 seconds.
Yeah, the breathing sequence.
I do that.
I actually don't. I'm ashamed to say that I have trouble.
I do that.
You can do it
as well.
If it works for you, you can do it. Of course, yeah.
I always feel this tingle on my third eye, and that's kind of like the opening of the orb. It gives me the signal, just like with the Askia or with the Iropax Rochelle protocol that we do. This is what it incites. So this is really helpful for me to get into that field, into that consciousness field that allows me to do a very smooth TISO protocol. And I was just wondering whether anyone else was also doing that. So you're
Right.
not, Carol is, and maybe Edie, I don't know. Are you doing the breathing sequence? No? Okay. So it's not really necessary. Okay.
Well,
I am, Bart. I'm doing it. I do the
All right.
breathing sequence. Helps a lot.
for
Okay.
those that, you know, for those that are guided to do it, those are the ones it's going to help most, you know. Actually, I should probably be doing it, but I have trouble breathing. When I do all that breathing, I'm like, you know, I tried it. It was like, I don't think so. So I just want to be conscious when I'm doing this, so I don't do it. But
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
it's a good thing to do if you can do it. Yeah. Okay. Well, everyone, I think we're going to kind of close down here, but are there any last minute things that anyone wants to say before we?
I just want to say one thing, Maya,
Yes.
and that was, I wanted to bring out this template too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the TISO template. Yeah.
That one I printed out in a small version, and I put it right here on my high heart. And I've got to say that sometimes I'll see that area like have this red kind of, it's not inflamed, but I don't know what it is, to be honest with you. But that happens every now and then. And the other thing I wanted to share is, after working with you for a long time in the Askia, like Bart had just mentioned, and when we start doing any of the new protocols, especially this one in particular, I noticed that the other things that happened to me, besides what's going on with the Shungite, is there's an awareness that seems to unfold. I mean, the other day I had one of these feelings where everything, just the light, the color of outside just seemed to be more intense. Little subtle things that happen that I absolutely know have to do with the work that I'm doing with you. You know, there's just an awareness expansion, or call it a consciousness expansion. And intuition. So I just wanted to say that for the new people that are here also, to affirm that it's a perk.
Yeah.
to Maya's work, your consciousness. Yeah. So thank you.
Wanted to add one more perk to that. Yesterday during the Rochelle workshop, there was actually, we were 16, so eight men and 8 women. So there was a really strong group present that have been working with the TISO protocol. I mean, we did the TISO protocol together, and it worked really well. And actually, one of the perks was that 4 men that were sitting basically in a square. They reported psychedelic colors. So it was like going on an LSD trip, but without the side effects. So thank you for that, Maya. That was really another perk of the Tizo Mandala. If you look at it, you might have a psychedelic trip. You know, that's one of those things that actually also happened to us. No, but joking aside, it's really powerful, and it's really increasing the let's say the perception, the inner perception and capabilities of all the group members that are actively engaged in it. So that's what I can add to that. And I will try to get you a summary of the report, because I think it's really important that you can also follow it. But it's always a lot of work, as you can imagine. Yeah. And last but not least, I'm going together with Ruby and with my son Aaron to Schiehallion and to Roslyn Chapel tomorrow. So actually also connecting very strongly with the field, with the Christic field. We'll be going on to Schiehallion, and of course the Tizo protocol will be going with me, and I'll do it there. Okay, so
great.
That's wonderful, Bart. And is there any way that do you have enough shungite that you could at least put one piece?
Not yet, but that's the only thing that I was thinking about. I'm going to order my first shungite right now, but I'll definitely have it with me for the pilgrimage from the 18th of July until the 27th.
Good.
Because that will be 15 people going there, really well prepared on a monthly basis, on a daily basis, to actually activate the field.
Great. Wow. Say hi to Bill Bueller when you're there.
He's always with us.
For sure. So did you say you were going to try? I'm sorry, I missed it. But did you say you were going to meet with Barry and Teresa?
Yeah, I hope to see them there. I definitely invited them, but they didn't respond to my email yet. But I think they will be there in the summer vacation. That's for sure. I don't know about tomorrow or after tomorrow, but I definitely popped the question.
Mm-hmm. Good, great, wonderful. Okay. Oh, one thing I wanted to add before we close, and that is back to the planetary mantles. I'm working on a presentation on that, and I had to table it for a while because I had other things that were priority to do, but it's still there because I've put a lot of energy into it, so I'm certainly going to continue it. Well, one of the things that came through for it, there's a symbol that I had to draw for each of the planetary mantles that I was given. And I put it on the cards that I created, because I already created the cards that are made with my avatar, because I wanted a human figure with these circles and whatever, just as an energy, kind of a thing. But then he had me go back and I could put the symbol at the top or bottom or wherever of the card for each one. So I thought, well, this is cool. But then he said, also make just a plain strip. I haven't done this yet, of white with the black ink symbol like you would have a keyboard. He said, make it look kind of like a keyboard. He said, because then people can print this off and they can play the energy frequencies of these mantles. I thought, oh, I was like, yay. I got so excited. So literally, it's not for two hands, I don't think. I think it's for one. You can switch hands. I'm not sure yet. I have to work it out with those. But the idea is and I said, well, we're going to have a songbook, or something to follow. And he said, no. This comes from within. This comes from within. Each day it's going to be different. Whether you go into a certain space, I'm going to have a thing that we can, I hesitate to say protocol, but something that at least gives a person the space to do it. And then they just play the keyboard. And as they play the keyboard, these frequencies connect in their field. So I thought that was extremely neat. So I wanted to share that with you. I'm not sure when I can get to this. I've got most of it done. I just have to finish a few things and then it'll be ready.
It's awesome. It means we play the music of the spheres.
Yeah, we're playing the music of the spheres. How cool is that? And I was thinking, for those of us who have keyboards to work with, like Jeremiah, that somehow they can be equated to musical notes. I'm going to ask both how we can do that, because wouldn't that be
great?
Yes. Actual musical notes that we can.
Yes, this is all fabulous.
Yeah. Ain't life grand? Okay, well, I guess we better conclude carrying on here. But this has been wonderful. Thank you all for participating. And of course, we'll be doing this again off and on. You know, write anything you have that you want to continue the dialogue with in the MeWe, you know, our group, the community group. So let me turn off the video, and goodbye to all of us who are watching the video. Let me see. Let me get the button here.
Thank you, Maya.
You're welcome. You're all most welcome. Here we go.